The first thing Elena heard when she pushed open the door of Caldwell House was a whisper that knew her name. Elena. Her flashlight beam jolted across the rotting foyer, sweeping over dust-drenched portraits, broken glass, and the collapsed skeleton of a chandelier. The sound wasn't echo or draft. It was speech. Words carried on something alive inside the walls. Elena, her breath hitched. Every nerve screamed at her to turn around, but her legs pushed her further inside. She wasn't here as a tourist. She was here because she'd been summoned. The letter had been short. The Caldwell property requires your expertise. Enter at dusk. The house chooses. No signature, no sender. But the keys had been included, and against every rational thought, Elena had come. Now the door groaned shut behind her. The lock clicked. She hadn't touched it. Elena. The whisper dragged across the ceiling. She raised the flashlight. For one heartbeat, she saw a face pressed into the plaster above her. A human mouth stretched wide in agony, eyes squeezed shut. Then it sank back into the ceiling and was gone. Her scream caught in her throat. Not real, she muttered. You're imagining it. But the whispers didn't stop. They multiplied. Behind you. She spun. A shadow flickered across the hallway and vanished into the dark. Her pulse hammered. She dropped her bag and bolted up the staircase, dust exploding with each step. At the landing, her flashlight flickered. For a split second, she saw them, figures lining the walls, pale and eyeless, their mouths working soundlessly. When the light steadied, the hallway was empty. Elena, the chorus crooned. You came. Her heart slammed against her ribs. She crashed into the nearest room and slammed the door. The bedroom stank of rot. Curtains sagged, mold spreading across the ceiling. A journal lay on the floor, its leather cover warped. She snatched it up, flipping through brittle pages. The entries were shaky, desperate. It won't let me leave. The house speaks in the voices of the dead. If you answer, it takes you. Her skin prickled. She closed the journal, then froze. Her flashlight illuminated the mirror on the far wall. And in it, Elena wasn't alone. Behind her reflection stood a woman in a black dress, face stitched shut, empty sockets where eyes should have been. The woman raised a hand in greeting. The real room was empty. Elena dropped the journal. The stitched woman in the glass lunged, slamming against the inside of the mirror, cracks spiderwebbing across the surface. Her mouth split open along the stitches, blood pouring as she shrieked Elena's name. Elena screamed and hurled the flashlight. The mirror shattered. Darkness consumed the room. Whispers poured through the walls now, 100 voices shrieking at once. The floor buckled. Hands clawed through the cracks, gray and skeletal, seizing her ankles. She tore free and bolted into the hallway. The corridor warped. Doors melted into the walls. Stairs stretched like chewing gum. The house was alive, reshaping itself around her. She ran blindly, whispers pounding in her skull. Shadows swarmed the ceiling, crawling after her like a tide of insects. Elena! The voices shrieked. Stay! The floor collapsed beneath her. She plunged into blackness. She landed hard, the air exploding from her lungs. Her flashlight clattered nearby, its beam cutting across stone. She wasn't in a hallway anymore. She was in a cellar. Dozens of shapes slumped against the walls. At first, she thought they were mannequins. Then one lifted its head. Its face was smooth. No eyes, no mouth. Just pale, blank skin. It reached toward her with twitching fingers. The others stirred. One by one, they began to stand, faceless heads tilting toward her. The whispers returned, but now she saw their source. The voices didn't come from mouths. They came from the walls themselves, vibrating with stolen sound. The faceless figures lurched forward. Elena snatched her flashlight, backed against the stairwell door. It was bolted shut with rusted chains. She screamed, slamming her shoulder against it. The faceless swarmed closer, their bodies jerking unnaturally, bones snapping with each step. "Elena," one crooned in her sister's voice. Her heart nearly stopped. She hadn't heard that voice in years. "Elena," it begged, "please don't leave me here." Tears stung her eyes. "You're not her," she screamed. The faceless closed in. One reached, its hand splitting open into a mouth full of teeth. With a roar, she ripped the chains free and crashed through the door. She scrambled up the stairs, the whispers rising into screams behind her. She burst into the entry hall. The front door loomed ahead. She sprinted. The door opened on its own. For 1 second, she saw freedom, the night air beyond. Then the wood slammed shut, and carved into it, deep and fresh, were words that hadn't been there before. The house doesn't let go. The words carved into the wood still dripped with fresh splinters. The house doesn't let go. Elena's throat went dry. She pounded her fists against the door until her knuckles split, but it didn't even creak. The whispers rose again, hissing from every corner. "Stay, stay, feed it, feed it." She spun around, chest heaving. The entry hall wasn't empty anymore. Figures lined the balcony above, thin silhouettes, all watching her. Their heads twitched in unison, mouths opening in soundless screams. Dust rained from the ceiling as they began to crawl down the walls, like insects, their limbs cracking backward at impossible angles. "No!" she screamed, bolting for the side corridor. The house twisted again, corridors lengthening into tunnels of black. She ran blind, shoes slipping on warped wood. The whispers chased her, louder, overlapping, filling her skull until she thought it would burst. "Elena, Elena, Elena." She crashed into a door and shoved it open. The smell hit her first, iron, rot, and something sweet, like spoiled fruit. It was a dining hall. The long tables stretched farther than it should have, vanishing into darkness. Plates sat untouched, silverware tarnished black. But the food, God, the food looked fresh. Roast meat steaming, bread warm, goblets full of crimson wine. Her stomach turned. She stepped closer. The meat shifted on the platter, twitching. A hand broke through the skin, clawing at the air. The bread writhed with maggots. The goblets weren't filled with wine. They were filled with blood. Elena gagged and stumbled back. The whispers purred. "Eat. Feed it. Join us." The chandelier above the table swayed. She lifted her flashlight. Bodies dangled from it, their necks twisted. faces slack. Their eyes snapped open in unison. "Elena," they crooned, "stay with us." She bolted through the hall, shoving open another door. This time, she was in a library. Books lined the shelves, rotting, pages yellow and torn. A fire burned in the hearth, though no wood fueled it. In the center of the room, on a pedestal, lay a single book bound in black leather. It throbbed like a heart. The whispers hushed as she approached, almost reverent. Her fingers shook as she opened it. The pages weren't written, they were carved. Names, thousands of them, etched deep into the flesh-like paper. At the bottom of the last page, letters carved themselves before her eyes. Elena coiled. Her scream tore through the silence. She slammed the book shut, but the whispers erupted into laughter, rattling the shelves. The fire roared. Shapes formed in the flames, faces screaming, their mouths stretching wider and wider until they split open into voids. The shadows on the walls twisted into a figure. The woman from the mirror. She stepped from the darkness, her dress black lace, her face stitched shut, sockets empty. She moved with jerks like a puppet yanked on strings. Elena backed against the pedestal. "Stay away from me." The stitches tore as the woman's mouth opened. Blood seeped down her chin. "You woke me," the keeper rasped. Her voice was every whisper at once. "Now you must feed it." "I won't," the keeper tilted her head. "You already have. Every scream, every step, it eats your fear. Soon it will eat the rest." She lunged. Elena grabbed the book and hurled it into the fire. Flames erupted, devouring the pages. The whispers screamed in fury. The room shook, shelves collapsing, books raining down. The keeper shrieked, her mouth splitting to her ears, rows of teeth gnashing. She lunged through the fire, her hands clawing for Elena's throat. Elena dove through the falling shelves, crawling across splintered wood. She burst through a side door into another corridor. The door slammed shut behind her, trapping the keeper inside. But the whispers followed, always. She staggered down the corridor, sobbing. Her flashlight beam caught something on the floor. She froze. It was a shoe, small, a child's. Next to it, a teddy bear matted with mold. The whispers softened, almost tender. "Come play." At the end of the hall stood a door painted pale blue. Her heart hammered as she pushed it open. A nursery. The wallpaper peeled, but the toys were intact. Dolls slumped in chairs, blocks stacked neatly, a rocking horse swaying on its own. The cradle in the corner creaked. She approached slowly. The cradle rocked harder, the sound grating in her ears. Her flashlight trembled as she leaned over the edge. Inside was a bundle of blankets. She reached out with shaking hands and pulled them back. The thing inside smiled at her. It was a baby, or had been once. Its skin was gray, eyes sewn shut, mouth too wide, stretching ear to ear. Its tiny arms clawed at the air as it whispered in her sister's voice. "Elena, it's me. Help me." Her scream broke the cradle's rocking. The thing lunged from the blankets, mouth splitting open into rows of jagged teeth. She hurled it across the room. It hit the wall with a sickening crack and dissolved into shadows. The dolls in the room snapped their heads toward her. Their glass eyes bled. One by one, they began to laugh, shrill and broken. She fled. The corridors blurred into endless mazes. Every door she opened led to another nightmare. A bathroom full of bodies floating in black water, a ballroom where skeletons waltzed to music that wasn't playing, a chapel with pews carved from bone. The whispers never stopped. They crawled into her head, digging, pulling. Elena, stay with us. Her legs finally gave out. She collapsed against a wall, sobbing. Why me? The whispers hushed. Then one voice, low and clear, answered. Because you came. The wall rippled. Hands burst through, seizing her arms. She screamed as she was dragged into the plaster, swallowed up to her chest. Faces swirled around her in the wall, screaming silently. Elena, they moaned. Stay!